We're continuing now the Maimer וספרתם Lachem that the Rebbe said in Tafshin Yud Aleph. And we started last time. The shir today is in the merit of the yahrzeit of the Rebbe's brother and for the merit of the neshama of Reb Yisrael Ari Leib ben Harav Reb Levi Yitzchak, great and holy neshama whom we connect to with our learning today, and schus for his neshama. Last time we learned that the Rebbe begins to explain the idea of Sfiras Omer. It's a maimer that was said on Lag BaOmer, but in order to understand Lag BaOmer we must understand the meaning of Sfiras Omer in general. And in order to understand this, the Rebbe spoke about the three concepts, the three aspects that there are in the counting. First there's the Karban Omer, the Minchas Omer, which is brought on the second day of Pesach, and then there's the counting, which is from the day of the Minchas Omer, and that's why it's called Sfiras Omer, until Shavuos, when a new Mincha is brought in the Beis HaMikdash. A question the Rebbe asked was, why does the Torah use the word Shabbos? We start from the day after Yom Tov of Pesach. Why do we use the word Shabbos? Now, in order to explain all of this, the Rebbe begins to explain what is the concept of Sfiras Omer. And the Rebbe explains this by asking a question that it says in the Mishnah that all the menachos, every time a karban mincha is brought in the Beis HaMikdash, it's brought from chitim, wheat, grain of wheat, flour of wheat. And the reason is simple, because whatever we do in the Beis HaMikdash, we always do the best. Wheat is the best type of grain. It's what's usually used for a special food. When you bake a cake, you use wheat. No one would think of using something else for the Beis HaMikdash. And yet the Mishnah says there's two types of mincha that use barley rather than wheat. One of them is the minchas knois, the mincha of a soita, a woman who was immodest. And as a result of her immodest behavior, she's being accused of being unfaithful to her husband. She brings a mincha when she is being checked by the soita water, when she's made to drink the soita water. That mincha is from barley, and the other one is the minchas omer that's also from barley. Now, the reason why the minchas soita comes from barley rather than wheat, the Gemara explains that because he asasa maisa behema lefichach karbana meichel behema, she behaved in a manner fit for an animal, and therefore the carbon that she brings is also animal fodder, animal food. What does this mean? It's not merely a nice connection. She acted like an animal, she brings a carbon that's connected to an animal. We know that a carbon is Adam ki yakriv mikem. When a person brings a carbon, they're actually bringing something to elevate their own animal soul, the animal that's within them. We bring an animal on the Mizbeach, we're elevating the animal on the Mizbeach, and with this we're elevating also our own animal. In this case, by the mincha of a saita, it's not just a question of elevating, it's also a question of we must clarify, we must find out something. Did she do something wrong, or did she not do something wrong? In other words, it's not just a question of elevating the animal, it's a step earlier, it's finding out, it's clarifying and putting things in perspective regarding the animal. And since it's the animal that we're dealing with, it's not just the plain idea of the nefesh habahamis, but it's the animalistic behavior that she behaved in an immodest way as an animal does. And we want to know how far that went. We want to clarify and realize where that went. So we are using grain, food, that feeds an animal, because we're dealing now with an animalistic type of behavior. That works for a minchas soita. What about the minchas ha'omer? The minchas ha'omer is a mincha brought by Klal Yisrael, the entire Jewish people, in order to enable us to eat the produce, the new produce, to harvest it and to eat it. Why does this come from barley, from animal food? And the explanation the Rebbe brings, that Chassidus explains for this, is because the concept of the Minchas HaOmer is also to feed the animal. In other words, not just to elevate the animal soul, but actually to refine and to set properly, to set straight the animal soul, so that the animal soul now can be used in order to serve Hashem. It has to be set in the right place, and that is as a result of the animal food, which is the Minchas HaOmer that comes from barley. And that's the concept of the Karban HaOmer. And then Sfiras HaOmer, which the word Sfira comes from Sapir, which is to shine. We're causing the animal soul to shine. We're involving ourselves now with the animal soul. Now, in order to understand this further, the Rebbe brings a pasuk in Shir HaShirim. The pasuk says, Mashcheni acharecha narutza, hevi'ani hamelech chadarav, nagila v'nismecha bach. Mashcheni means, pull me. Acharecha narutza, we shall run after you. Hevi'ani hamelech, the king has brought me chadarav into his inner chambers, and let us now rejoice and be happy with you. Now this pasuk seems to be using two contradictory ways of speaking in the pasuk. First we say Mashcheni in the singular, pull me, and then we say Acharecha narutza in the plural, we will run after you. How does that fit together? And therefore Chassidus explains that this is actually three aspects that are in the avodah of every Jew, in every Jew's everyday divine service, and three aspects that in the year we find them in three times, three different eras, three different months of the year that correspond to three times in history and three different historical events that take place, which we commemorate in these three times of the year, and that gives us the power to actually have our everyday avodah also in these three things, which is in every day of a person's life. And what are these three aspects? Let's start from the first one, Yetzias Mitzrayim. In the month of Nisan, we went out of Egypt. What happened when we went out of Egypt? Before we left Egypt, we, the Jewish people as a nation, were completely submerged, completely sunk into the 49 gates of impurity. We were one and fully, completely involved in the way of life of the Egyptians. Mitzrayim, from the word Mitzarim, limitations. The limitations of the Egyptian, the immorality, the idol worship of the Egyptians, to the extent that when the Jewish people went through the Yam Suf, the angel said to Hashem, what's the difference between these and these? They're the same. These are idol worships and these are also idol worshippers. The Jews were sunk in 49 gates, meaning almost fully, besides for one aspect. The essence, the Jewish identity, was still strong and powerful. The things that define who we are in our essence, our language, the way we speak, our names, the way we're called, our mode of dress, the way we express ourselves to the world, those are identifying factors of our essence. Those still remained completely faithful to the Jewish heritage. That's why the 50th gate the Jews weren't submerged in. That's the essence was still there. The essence was still complete. But anything else, the whole thought process, the whole way of thinking, and the whole manner of life that the Jewish people had them was in the same exact as their Egyptian neighbors, in the same immorality, in the same limitations, the same distance from godliness as their Egyptian neighbors. When Hashem decided to take us out of Egypt, It wasn't because of anything we did. It wasn't because of our actions. Yes, Hashem told us we needed to have the blood of Pesach, the blood of Milah, so we can have something to hold on to. But the reason He decided is because He loves us, because of the promise that He made to Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Hashem Himself decided, I'm coming down, pulling you out. Moshcheni, He pulled us out of Mitzrayim. He revealed the spiritual energy, the godly energy upon us in order to pull us out of the 49 gates of impurity that we were submerged and totally sunk into. Nigla aleihem melech malchei amlachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu. B'chvoide u'v'atzmei, the King of all kings, the Holy One, blessed be He, was revealed upon us in order to take us out and redeem us and take us out of the mud that we were stuck into. However, when this happens totally from above, it's a spiritual energy that's revealed. Who's in tune with the spiritual energy? Not the animalistic soul, not the physical body. The physical body is in tune only with the physical world. The ones that are in tune with the spiritual energy is the spiritual existence, which is the godly soul. That's the one that gets pulled out. The physical existence remains where it was because it doesn't become inspired or excited by the spiritual energy. And this was what happened by Yetzias Mitzrayim, which is also the reason that it explains in Chassidus why there had to be kibaracham. Why did we have to run away? We ran away from Mitzrayim in haste. We ran out of Mitzrayim. Moshe Rabbeinu came to Parei and he said, give us 3 days time to go out into the desert. Why 3 days time? At that time, Parei was already hit with 10 plagues. He could have told him, we're leaving, that's it. And the Alter Rebbe explains in Tanya, it wasn't the physical Parei which was the issue over here. It was the spiritual Parei. They could have left Egypt, but it wasn't Egypt that it wasn't only Egypt that we were leaving. It was Mitzrayim, the limitations, the physical, material immorality of Mitzrayim, and that we weren't able to do yet because the bad, the evil was still in full force. Mitzrayim was broken up a little bit by the 10 plagues. Their hold upon us was loosened, but they were still there in full force. It was our godly soul running away and escaping from this impurity and immorality of Mitzrayim. That had to be running away, that had to be a chipazon, that had to be haste, that had to be an escape, a great escape from the physical and material world, which was still in its full power exactly as it was before. But that's not the ultimate purpose. That's Moshcheni, pull me. Who's me? Singular, the godly soul. It's being pulled from above by the godly energy that's revealed upon it. It's being pulled out of the mud. But the godly soul didn't just come down so that it can pull itself out, so it can be pulled out. If we want to fulfill the purpose for which it came into the world, is to transform the physical world, the material world, the animal soul, and specifically, in order to get to the third part of the pasuk, which is Aviani Amelech Chadarav, so that even the godly soul can reach the inner chamber of Hashem. It's not able to get there unless it can bring the Torah, the Matan Torah in the world, which is the giving of the Torah in the physical world. The physical world and the physical animal soul of a Jew has to be refined. And that was done step by step in the 49 days of Sfiras HaOmer. In the 49 days of Sfiras HaOmer was 49 steps of transforming the physical, the attributes of the physical, material, animalistic soul of a Jew. Those 49 steps is Acharecha Narut, so we will run after you. It's not you're pulling me, I'm running. I'm going after you, and it's not just I, it's we. It's the animal soul and the godly soul. Because we're working on transforming it, we're actually going together. But it's more than that. Because the godly soul is intellectual by nature, cold, calculated. Wherever the godly soul goes, it goes slowly, step by step, in a calculated manner. The animal soul is emotional by nature, excited, heated up. When the animal soul does something, he runs to it. Usually it's running to the physical material world and the desires of the world. When, for whatever reason, like now in Sfiras Omer, it actually is convinced to run, to go to godliness, it doesn't just walk, because an animal soul doesn't walk, it runs. It runs, it goes norutza, it runs, but once the animal soul runs, it pulls the godly soul with it as well, so that the godly soul runs as well. So now it's norutza, we're both running. And that is the general concept of Sfiras Omer, which we'll continue explaining Be'ezus Hashem next time.